Hey, this is Linda of Christ is King Forever. There are 4 things I want to talk about today. The word covet and what it means in the Bible and how it's applicable to our life. The irony of this is not lost on me, but truth is truth no matter who it comes from. The second thing would be the prisms of injustice, meaning the way in which we view the world, our perspectives of reality, and how it breeds this very strange and bizarre injustice, but it can leak into this foundation of sacrifice. These things kind of go together. I'm going to try to link that here. Also, the 4th thing would be emails. Yes, emails. So the first thing is covet. The word covet is not an action. It is an actual just feeling or desire or yearning. And it's not even like you walk up and say, oh, this is mine and I'm going to keep it. That's really not what it is. It's just a feeling. It's not even tangible. It could even be like for 5 minutes. You could look at somebody and think something and then walk away, or it could be for an extensive period of time. I have tendencies. As you can tell, I have this thing with overthinking about things like the Bible. I am pretty preoccupied whenever I focus on something. So when one says that you have to do an action, it's going out of your way, or training yourself to only enjoy certain types of entertainment, because it's not really going after a person. It's only just watching. It is actually a sin, and thank goodness for Jesus Christ, because of his sacrifice, God still listens and hears and is training and helping us get past these things. The other thing I want to talk about was the prisms of injustice. And basically, if you look at whether it's the Trump issue or the Hunter Biden issue, everybody is on one side of the aisle going, there's so much injustice, there's so much horrible things happening to this person, they're victimized and nobody understands and the whole world is against them. But these people end up, hitting back and saying to everybody, you should defend me because, that person is bad and they're evil and we should all hate them together. What would be the opposite of that? Could you imagine if, newscasters, commentators came on and said, how about we forgive, we understand, and we look for the truth regardless of where it leads us? I mean, that would be a start. Terminology we use that likes to paint people with a broad brush of being evil, that doesn't help us. You know what real injustice is? It's when, I'm going to use this as an example because God made it clear in the Old Testament with the fact he used animals and not people, because we were sacrificing people at a time that he was saying, okay, if you sin, you have to sacrifice an animal. And we were more heartbroken for the sacrifice of the animal, and he understood that. He understood that there's something about that which we have dominion over and that which we believe to be helpless and without choice, that somehow, because it's not an equal to us, we love it enough to want to go out of our way to protect it, and to hurt it because of something we've done would be horrible, But could you imagine, a dog being beat up and it's still loving you, still, waddling back to you with its broken leg and it still loves you. It still looks up to you and wants to cuddle with you, knowing you could hurt it, but it still chooses to love you. And that's what Jesus has taught me. That's real injustice. When the person has nobody and nothing, and if whatever it does have, it's very few and far between, and it could choose to leave, and it could choose to hate you, and it would be justified to hate you, and be justified to attack you and to turn on you, but it won't. The foundation of sacrifice is really, really important. That's what Jesus did. He didn't just open up a loophole in reality so that we could be with the Father through the torn veil and all these things. He did so much more. He taught us that a good judge does the time for you, so that instead of you doing the time and becoming a harder person and a more, rougher person around the edges, instead you see this being, this person, or maybe animal in the Old Testament case, getting beaten the way you deserve because of what you've done. And your heart changing and the law of God being written upon your heart, and you actually walking away having learned your lesson, truly being sorry, not just being told go sit in the corner until you come to your senses, but you never really do. You just kind of become a worse person in prison and stuff. Instead, you actually change and you do become a better person for what the sacrifices were made. It's like these institutions that everybody, especially on the conservative side, love to talk about. They're like, oh, we got to preserve these institutions. They're the bedrock of reality. They're the bedrock of it's always worked. Why change it? And I agree. Before Jesus, there were doves and hens and lamb, for sure, lamb, Passover lamb. God was trying to tell us that when Jesus, the good judge, decided to take our place and show us this is what you deserve, but I'm taking your place. And if you really love God, you'll let people spit on you. You'll let them make fun of you. You got to be brave and you got to have fortitude. And you have to love them anyway. You want to know why you would love them anyway? Because Jesus did first. And the world hated him first. I've been very, very real about this, about my feelings about people in general. It's gotten better with time because my king says so, and so it is, who is Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach. And he's made it clear he loves people, so I have to love people. That's why my feelings have changed. So I've done the thing, and then my feelings came later. I decided to support the things I knew God would support. And then the feelings for these things all of a sudden came later. Basically, just like we care about animal suffering because we have dominion over that, for what God has in store for us in this new place where we're going, we have to have a heart like him. And that might mean letting the part of us that hoped there was such a thing as good people, like just genuinely good people, that might have to die. I don't really think there is. I think that there are people who do the right thing due to duty because they have to and because they're supposed to, but I don't believe there are genuinely good people who walk around doing the right thing because they feel like they should. And societies prove this to be true. As soon as the fear of God leaves, people create new rules and regulations in order to justify their feelings and their desires and still hold the title of being a good person. The difference between a person who's in denial about their sin, falling short, and the fact that what they're doing is bad if everybody did it. So if everybody were of a certain lifestyle, would society exist past a certain generation? Absolutely not. So it's only applicable to a few, but not to the many. If everybody was a type of person who was allowed to be violated at a very young age, we would have such a messed up society. Our society would be really, really heavily damaged because children can't experience certain types of activities the same way as an adult because the pituitary gland has not opened up, and so they don't have the hormones needed in order to experience the things we do. But it really scars children if they are introduced to things at too young of an age. So if we did these small little things on a broad scale, it would damage all of society. But we create these new rules in order to justify what we're doing, and so that we can all still applaud each other as being good people. The difference between that and a Christian who is a sinner, who is doing wrong, but admits it and looks to change, who understands there is a plumb line, there is a standard, and we are always going to fall short. And the goal is to forever change and evolve, not just on a physical level as somebody who was once an ape, which I don't believe, by the way, but as somebody who actually is evolving emotionally, psychologically, mentally, and spiritually. And I really believe the core of all that evolving, really the core of it, is through the spiritual realm. In my opinion, is through Jesus, because he's teaching us that lesson of if you really want justice, you're going to have more people who smile at people who are hurting them, who love people in a genuine way, who hit them, who hate them. Because then if all of us were applied that rule, if you applied that rule and said, all of us, we're just going to love people regardless of how they treat us. We're always going to seek what's best for our neighbor and not for ourselves. Or how about we seek what's best for somebody else first before we seek what's best for us? Society would be different. So do you understand if you apply these ideas across the board, what direction things go? Does it go up or down? And this is a really great test. And I think there's a lot of political stuff going on right now that reveals there's something very wrong with our perspective and feelings about justice. We need to feel justified, and therefore justice is, Well, if it justifies me and if it fixes my problem, then, well, feels like justice. Yeah, doesn't it? It doesn't. It's not justice. It's only good for you. And it only works when it applies to people who think like you. But try being the dog. Try being the person who genuinely has learned that I know that he's coming over to hit me. I know that this person is going to break my leg. And I'm going to love them all the way up until the moment they do it, as they do it, and after they do it. Now I want to talk about emails. If you go into somebody's mailbox and take their mail and open it knowing it's not yours, it's a federal offense. Why aren't emails treated equally so? Really consider it, though. There is more private information coming through our emails now than would ever come through our mail. Like, we didn't have passwords and usernames. Sometimes screenshots from private information that's at work that, by the way, the company wants protected. So I just don't understand, why is it that snail mail has a standard that's higher than the evolved version of the original, which is email. This is Linda of Crisis King Forever. May God be with you.